Pokemon Corner. We are a videocast / podcast dedicated to bringing you the best Pokemon-related topics. I'm your host, Nice1983.
And I'm your co-host, Mario Afterparty.
And guys, it's been exactly 1 week since the release of Pokemon Go, and it's already taken America by storm and other parts of the world by storm. People are outside in droves trying to catch them all. In some ways, it's almost like a return to 1998, minus the boy bands and Britney Spears. The Pokemon Craze is in full effect. Today, we are going to give our impressions on Pokemon Go. Also, a new Japanese trailer was released for Pokemon Sun and Moon. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick fire discussion on the Pokemon Sun and Moon information that was released, and then we're just going to dive right into our Pokemon Go discussion. So, I guess this kind of might have got lost in the shuffle of Pokemon Go, but on the same day that Pokemon Go was released, the Pokemon Company released information on a new Pokemon in trailer form, and it was for Salandit. It's this little, looks kind of like a salamander if you fused it with the devil. It's the scariest looking Pokemon I've ever seen. It's literally this nasty, vicious lizard. So it's poison fire type, and here's his description. Salandit emits toxic gas together with flames from the base of its tail. This poisonous gas has a sweet smell, and anyone who unknowingly breathes it in will become dizzy. Salandit is not very powerful Pokemon, but its cunning nature allows it to battle fiercely by throwing opponents off battle. Salandit females not only release toxic gases, but they can also emit pheromones to attract males of all species, including Pokemon and humans. Inhaling the pheromones may cause opponents to be controlled by Salandit's will. And the last piece of this description is Salandit has the Corrosion ability, a new ability that no other Pokemon has possessed before. With the Corrosion ability, it becomes possible to inflict poison status condition even on Steel and Poison-type Pokemon. That's, again, when we talk about Pokemon Sun and Moon, it's almost more interesting to find out about the new abilities more than it is to find out about the new Pokemon. Because being able to poison Steel types, meta game breaking right there. Again, like this whole new game has been designed to destroy the meta and build a new meta.
I just feel like all the new Pokemon they're adding are OP, and it's going to make the game like you got to have the Sun and Moon Pokemon if you want to be competitive, but we'll see if that really happens. But the new abilities are definitely very, very strong.
I've been thinking the same thing. Is like, how are the previous 798 Pokemon going to stack up to these new Pokemon? So that's the first Pokemon that was unveiled. We got two new ones unveiled this week. They were leaked through Koto Comics, and then right afterwards, the Pokemon Company Japan released a new trailer. By the way, I gotta say, this is one of the best Pokemon trailers I've ever seen. But I almost feel like they got mixed up and made the trailer for Pokemon Go and not a trailer for Pokemon Sun and Moon. So the first Pokemon revealed in this Japanese trailer is Mimikyu. It's a ghost fairy type. Okay, Mimikyu hates sunlight, preferring dark places. It is rumored that the cloth covering its body is a strategy to avoid the sun. Don't try to remove the cloth. It is said that those that do become afflicted with an illness. I still think it looks like a retarded Pikachu.
Well, if you look at the name, it's called Mimikyu because it's probably going to mimic you or mimic the Pokemon that it is or imitating, or if it's possessing an old, like, worn-out Pikachu stuffed animal, because it is a ghost type, so it could be able to possess things too and mimic them. So whatever is underneath that cloth, we don't really know. We'll probably find out as it evolves the true form of Mimikyu, but in the beginning, you know, he's mimicking like what looks to be like a dead Pikachu.
It makes me wonder if, you know, remember in Pokemon X and Y, the butterfly that had all the different color variation, wing patterns. Like each region got its own wing variation for the color. I can't remember. I think it's Vivion, yeah. That Pokemon. I'm wondering if this Pokemon is the same where you can get different dead Pokemon skin to cover its body. So it doesn't have to just look like melting Pikachu. It could look like a melting Bulbasaur or whatnot. It looks cool. It does really appear to be one of those Pokemon that evolve. So kind of cool. Then we got one more Pokemon from this trailer. Guys, I don't speak Japanese, so bear with me on this name. Kiture Guma. It's a normal fighting type and has the ability of Fluffy or Klutz. Here's the description, guys. People in Alola are scared of Kiterugama to the point of having warning signs about it. It's really strong and can break anything in two. It likes to hug its trainers, but is strong. Raising one puts your life in danger. Again, the running theme of Pokemon Sun and Moon is if the Pokemon is remotely cute, it is dangerous to the human touch.
It appears that way. The new Pokemon that they've released are all kind of creepy. You know, you've got Mimikyu, who you can't take his cloth off or you're going to get some horrible illness. And then you have this little pink and black bear that is so strong, he will probably kill you on accident even if he loves you. So that's pretty creepy.
All right. So those are the new Pokemon that were unveiled, and now we're just going to go ahead and quick fire the rest of the things that we saw in this trailer. The return of Pokemon or Pokemon. I used this feature a little bit in X and Y, but it kind of became like I kind of threw it in the back seat because Super Training was a lot more useful than Pokemon. It's only useful if you're trying to evolve Pokemon that like need love to evolve. We also saw new ways to ride Pokemon. They showed this off in multiple ways with a Lapras, a Sharpedo, and a Tauros. Then we see the trainer striking this odd pose and, you know, busting one of these, but he's not wearing a Mega Bracelet. And if it looks like anything to me, it looks like a Synergy Stone from Pokken Tournament. So it makes me wonder if this is the game that makes Synergy canon instead of just being part of Pokken Tournament. So, or it just could be Mega Evolution. Like, we don't know yet. They're not, you know, the Pokemon Company's being really quiet on it, but they're damn sure they're gonna show it to us, but they're not gonna tell us what it is. So, all right, guys. So those are our quick fire thoughts on Pokemon Sun and Moon, and now we're going to talk about Pokemon Go. Whoo! We have had this game for a full week. It's been an amazing week, though. So what we're gonna do real quick before we go ahead and give you our thoughts on the game, we're gonna run through our personal stats, where we are, what team we're on, all that goodness. So I am on Team Instinct, which is Team Yellow. I am currently at level 17. The Pokemon I have seen, let me go ahead and pull that up right quick. I have seen 79. I have caught 79 Pokemon. I have seen 81. I am currently the gym leader of one gym. I just lost a gym during the recording of this episode. So that's how quickly gyms change in this game. My strongest Pokemon is a Vaporeon, and it is at level... Sorry, guys, I got to pull this info up real quick. 1432 CP. My second strongest is my Snorlax at 1290. I have been the longest time I held a gym was for 57 hours, and that was a level 7 gym. It stood. That's the longest standing gym I've had, so that was pretty cool. After party, hit us up with the stats, baby.
All right, so I'm Team Instinct as well. You know, it's funny because when we both started playing this game, we didn't realize that you can't change your team, and we didn't talk about what teams we were going to pick beforehand. So I'm glad that we were both Team Yellow, because if you know we had decided on different teams, it would be heartbreaking. But we're both Team Instinct, so that's good. I'm level 18 right now. Caught 67, seen 69. I'm a little behind you in that department. The longest I ever held a gym was It was a little over 24 hours, maybe like 30 hours, but that's because it was day one, and there just weren't that many people taking over gyms yet. Currently, I have one gym. I think the most I've ever held was 5, and my strongest Pokemon right now, I got 2 that are pretty close in CP. I got a 1422 Executor and a 1412 Flareon. So those are my stats for Pokemon Go as of week 1.
Nice, nice. All right, guys. So we're going to get into this game as thoroughly as we can. The first thing we should just go ahead and say is that this game is a phenomenon. In 7 days, this game has made over $14 million. It has how many active users, man?
It has 21 million active users, and that was as of yesterday. And since then, the game has been released in Germany and the United Kingdom. And this game hasn't even come out in Japan yet. You know how pissed the Japanese must be? Because, let's face it, America broke Pokemon Go. When it came out here, the servers weren't working, like the gyms weren't working, and Niantic realized, well, we got to delay the release everywhere else. So the Japanese are probably like, God damn it, America! Because they still don't. But the level of growth and success that this game has had is unprecedented. It's truly phenomenal. I know a lot of it has been built on the nostalgia from 20 years ago from when we all started playing, but I couldn't even predict that it was going to be this successful. It's just been truly amazing.
I don't think anybody could have predicted how successful this game is. Like, to the point where even Niantic they said that the game is several hundred times more successful than they initially thought it was. And I mean, let's be honest, like, server errors aside, like, this game must have like quadrupled their expectations. I mean, Ingress had a large player base. Ingress still has a very large player base, and it looks like Pokemon Go has beaten it by droves. I mean, and I understand why. I mean, it's a Pokemon game. At its core, it's a Pokemon game, but it's so vastly different from any other Pokemon game that I've ever experienced. With the exception of one, if I have to compare it to a Pokemon game, I kind of compare it to Pokemon Snap. I've been calling it Pokemon Snap 2.0, just because mechanically it's sort of similar, especially in the way that you have the ability to take pictures. It's like they took the fun from Pokemon Snap on the N64 and gave it a shot of steroids and, just let it loose on the world. But it's bad. I mean, there are so many like funny news stories and so many crazy things that happen within this game. Seriously, it has brought me and my fiance closer together because, she plays it with me. When I go out, she comes with me, and, she loves catching Pokemon, and she loves stopping at Pokestops and tapping on all the items that we get. Like, it's fun, man. This game has actually made our relationship better, and I think we already had a pretty strong relationship to begin with. It is insane to see what this game has done just in a week, but it's amazing how much fun I've had and how much fun I want to continue to have. Like, when I put this game down, all I want to do is pick it up, go back out, and catch more Pokemon. I honestly feel like Ash Ketchum every time I leave the house because I'm excited to find new Pokemon. I'm excited to catch Pokemon that I've already caught a couple hundred of.
Well, we were just having a conversation last time about how we both like to explore when we were talking about Zelda Breath of the Wild and, like, for me, playing Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I have not played since Pokemon Go came out. And I love Xenoblade X or Chronicles X. It's just I've been so addicted to Pokemon Go. I mean, I really feel bad because I have other things I need to do with my life, and I do not need to be playing Pokemon Go as much as I have, but it's addicting, and you feel that you're part of the game because the game is out there in the real world. You can't really sit at home and play this game. You won't be that successful. Even if you're lucky enough to have a lot of Pokemon that spawn in your house or in your backyard, you got to get out there, go to Pokestops, gyms, find areas where different types of Pokemon appear, and it makes you feel like you're part of this world for the first time. And I think that's why it's so successful. Interaction that has come from this game was really unexpected, but it's really made the experience more better. Because
I wholeheartedly agree.
I know that a lot of people think cell phones are antisocial because you see people on their phones at dinner or on the subway or walking around town, and they're not interacting with anybody else because they're on their phone. But Pokemon Go has totally flipped that on its head, and now we're interacting with each other. Who saw what Pokemon where? So it's been really pretty amazing.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. I really do. The social interaction aspect of this game is something that I could not, for the life of me, predict. I know that was ultimately the goal with this game, but I could not imagine myself standing next to complete strangers, and just sharing a moment with them. Like, a moment, and it might be, most in the grand scheme of social interactions that you may have with people, it might not be the most in-depth interaction you have with a human being. But the fact of the matter is that on multiple occasions, every day I've gone out to play this game, I have spoken to at least one trainer. The first time I did it was at a gym that myself and a random trainer, we went and conquered that gym together. Even though we were on opposing teams, we both saw the necessity to conquer a gym together, and then one of us was going to take it, whichever one of us had the stronger Pokemon. We knew that, but we saw the benefit in working together. Ultimately, I took that gym because I just had the more powerful Pokemon at the time. But if you've played this game, you know that gyms don't stand very long. But still, I mean, everywhere. And it's not just the social interaction. It is, I have gone places. I have lived in Tampa since 2004. That is 12 years of my life I've lived in this city. And I've been to places I've never been to before, or I've been to places that I've been to before and seen them in a completely different way. There's a huge club district down here, and I used to be a club head. I used to go out to this area all the time. Never once in my life had I gone there during the daytime. I went during the daytime, and I saw that part of the city in a completely new light. I learned some history about that part of the city. It's one of the oldest places in Tampa. It was amazing to be there, to see it in a new light. I found a 9/11 memorial that we have here that was a Pokestop. I went to a Vietnam memorial that was also a Pokestop, and while I was there, I didn't just play the game. I took in the sights. I saw my world. I've seen places that I have been to that I wouldn't go to, that I would just pass in my normal life, and I went there and I took the time to appreciate those places. Never have I done that. Never did I even know that some of these places were there, and I went there and I had these interactions. I got to interact with the environment. I got to talk to people there who are also playing the game, which inevitably led to people who didn't know about the game asking what we were doing. Then we talked to them about the game, and they're like, that sounds fun. Then they would download the game in front of us and also play the game and also experience their world in a new light. This game has changed my immediate worldview, not like my entire worldview, but the worldview that I have in my immediate area. Never did I think a Pokemon game could do that.
I'm with you. I've visited places I didn't know existed either, and right now I'm still kind of in a rural area, and it's been a little bit more difficult to play the game than if you're in a big city like where because you're in Tampa right now, but yeah, there's been a lot of interesting places that I've gone to that I didn't know existed, and back to the social interaction. I mean, what would you say has been your most positive and your most negative experiences so far socially with the game, or have you had any like crazy stories that you want to tell? Because I always find those to be the most interesting news stories are people's social interactions
Okay.
with the game.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the best social interaction I had was, in Ybor, which, like I said, it's one of the most historic places in Tampa. I usually only went there at night, went there during the day. It was amazing to see how many trainers were out during that time. There were so many of us. It was only like day 3 with the game, and there were hundreds of people walking down the street, catching Pokemon, stopping at all the Pokestops. Uh, as I was walking, I saw a young man across the street, definitely in his late teens, early 20s, and he was moving quite fast. I was like, "What do you see?" Because obviously something had popped up on his radar that hadn't popped up on mine. And he says, "There's a Bulbasaur here somewhere." And I'm like, "Oh, snap." So I went, me and my girlfriend, we went over to we ran across the street to where he was, and the 3 of us together went searching for that Bulbasaur. Ultimately, we found it together. We all caught it. We were all high-fiving, hell yeah, and that was awesome. Another similar incident was in Brandon. I found a park that I had never heard of before, and there was a Pikachu there, and a group of 5 other people also knew, had realized that there was a Pikachu there, so we all went and looked for it together. The funniest thing was that I had just leveled up to 12, so I had just gotten the Great Balls, and while everybody else was struggling to catch their Pikachu, I just said, bloop, caught it with, just the one ball. But, I sat there, we talked for a minute, we all talked about which teams we were on. It was a great moment. It was just, we were unified in that moment. I think the most negative thing I had was that there was a group of guys maybe in their late teens, early 20s, who just they were too cool for Pokemon Go, despite the fact that one of them was currently playing it. They kind of like poo-pooed on the game, but I mean it was a group of 3, so of course statistically 1 in 3 people is going to be playing that game. And one of them was playing it. He was just trying to do it on the slide so that his friends couldn't notice. I mean, but you're gonna have people like that. It's kind of comes with the stigma of playing video games in general. There are always going to be those kids, those adults who think they're too cool for video games. But I think the great thing about this is that this is the first time in my life that I have actively and openly noticed hundreds of other people playing a video game out in public. I think people still have there's still this stigma that video games are something that you play in your mom's basement. I don't think that stigma has completely gone away yet, despite the emergence of esports and FGC. People still give us this stigma that, oh, gamers, you must live at home with your mom in your basement. No, I have a house and I play video games on the 2nd floor on a 56-inch television, with my fiance. That's how I play video games. But still, I haven't had too many bad interactions with anybody. Actually, that's just that one, and it wasn't even that bad. So, that being said, what about you, man?
Well, I'll start off with my really one and only negative experience so far, which I was driving around at night. It was probably like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and I was on a local college campus here, and there were 2 gyms there, so I wanted to go try to take the gyms, and then there was a Pokestop there as well, and it was all like right pretty much in the same spot. So I drove up to there's like a little loop and parked my car so that I could start to hit up the Pokestop, and some police officer who not a real police officer because
It's a
wasn't
cop.
well, yeah, it wasn't a public university. It was a private university. So really, it's just more. It's not a real cop. It's like a glorified security officer. And he pulls up, and he's like, and the funny thing is, he knew what I was doing. So obviously, he knows I'm not doing anything suspicious. And he's like, "Hey, this is a private university. so you need to leave because there's going to be no Pokemaning going on around here. And I was just like, wow, what a cool, like, you know. And this guy was like ancient. He was probably like 65 years old. But I was like, all right, you know, and I left. And it does kind of worry me that there's going to be some backlash for this game because as many positive things as we've had as far as our interactions with people, there are going to be those people that, you know, hate the game or hate the effects of the game, and usually they're probably going to end up being older people who don't play the game. But you know, I've heard of people getting upset that their neighborhoods are getting busier and that there's more cars driving around. You know, because people don't want a quiet neighborhood all of a sudden to become really busy and loud, and I'm just hoping that Niantic tweaks some of the Pokestops enough to make sure that the reactions from this game continue to be mostly positive. But you know, I am a little bit worried with some of the backlash because there are some people who really don't want droves of Poke Hunters running around the areas that they live in. But like I said, I've only had one negative experience so far. I've had many more positive ones. The craziest story that I have is I was driving home from Baton Rouge one night, and after I got outside of the city, like, I was driving, and I decided to turn my Pokemon Go app back on, and I was like, well, let me just see what's around here. And there was a gym and a Pokestop at a church that was like in the middle of nowhere. And so I pulled over and pulled up to this church, and I mean, it was like there was a church, there was like forest and farmers fields, and there was like no sign of civilization, and it was like 11:30 at night. And so I'm trying to take this gym over, and somebody pulls up next to me at 11:30 at night in the middle of nowhere, and they roll down their window, and they're just like, hey bro, what team are you on? And I was like, oh man, I'm Team Yellow. They're like, oh, so are we. And I was like, I don't know if I was more surprised that I met another Team Instinct, because I rarely ever meet Team Instinct, because, you know, most of the people that play this game decided to be either red or blue. But I was also surprised. I was like, it is like 11:30 at night. What are you doing here? You know? And they knew. And it's funny because they knew what I was doing too. They were like, what team are you on, bro? I'm like, yeah, I'm Team Instinct. They're like, yeah, let's take this gym. I'm like, yeah. So we took the gym, and, you know, I talked to the two guys that were in the other car for a little bit, and we kind of shared some information. I told them about the rewards because they didn't know about that either. And I was like, make sure you collect on the rewards for the gyms. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you gotta go to the shop and click on the shield icon. They're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, way. And so it was a fun, crazy moment, and I hope I have many more positive moments with this game. But as far as social experiences, that's pretty much all I've got. I know you wanted to talk about a couple things, you know, that you want to be implemented in the game.
Yes, and we're going to do that, but what we're going to do first is we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about things we want from the main series and a little bit more. So we'll be right back. And we are back. Nice one.
tell them about the things you want implemented in Pokemon Go in the future and the comparisons you have from the main series.
All right. So, what I want from the main series to come back to this game, I want more traditional battling. Not in the sense that I want it to be more RPG-ish, like, you know, the turn-based stuff. Let's keep the turn-based stuff in the main series. I actually like battling in this game, but what I would like is there are, like we said earlier, there are hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon trainers out and about. I would like to be able to battle them in a more traditional sense. Like, I want to be able to go out, lock eyes with the trainer, and just say, let's battle. And just battle another trainer right then and there. You know, it's always been a staple of the main series. You know, I'm not going to say something like trading because, you know, we know that we're getting trading. What we don't know is if we're going to get a more traditional sense of battling. But I would totally love to walk out and about and battle with these random people because there's something about battling that always bonded you, you know, with the people that you meet when you play Pokemon. So let's bring that aspect to the game. Let's figure out how we can get that done. Not that battling gyms isn't fun, because battling gyms has actually become one of my favorite parts of the game. I prefer battling gyms more than I prefer catching all 150 Pokemon right now because, you know, even though they did confirm that we will see more Pokemon in this game, they didn't tell us when. We don't have a timetable for when the Johto Pokemon are coming or the Hoenn Pokemon or the Sinnoh Pokemon. We don't know when these Pokemon are coming. So it is not my priority to necessarily catch all 151 right away. I want to battle.
I've totally been farming Pokemon and trying to get the strongest versions of each kind that I can find. But yeah, back to what you said. You know, I want that too, and I really didn't think about that aspect of it because I kind of forgot about the trailer. You know, in the trailer, it looked like when you passed someone that your phone was gonna kind of go off, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, you're playing too." Although these days everybody's playing, so you probably don't even need that. But yeah, I would really like to be able to battle somebody one-on-one individually. And I know that they were talking about maybe putting out some sort of a leaderboard, so where you could kind of see like how strong you are compared to other people. Leaderboard to be broken down even further to where you can compare yourself individually, but that you can also compare your team, like, and not on a global sense because I think that would be too big, but like, let's say state by state, you know, you can be like, hey, you know, Team Instinct in Florida is holding it down right now, and you could be fighting for, you know, state pride. Like, yeah, well, Team Mystic, you know, over in Georgia is holding it down over there. So, you know, and things like that, because part of the camaraderie you have in this game is through the team that you're on. That's why there have been so many memes coming out and so many people like banding together to support what team that. I think if you could have something like that along with a leaderboard of individual players that you could somehow rank up by battling people one-on-one and battling gyms, I think that would really like help complete the battle system.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. As far as comparing other things to the main series, it's funny because it's crazy how much of this game is Pokemon proper. Like, the whole thing about Pokemon is you're going out on an adventure. You do that in this game. You really go out on an adventure, but it's you. So it's amazing, like, how they were able to really bridge the gap, so to speak, between the main series games and this game. The adventure aspect, which is probably, you know, the thing that hooked us all right away when we first started playing Pokemon, it's there. I mean, yeah, the story elements aren't there, but, you know, if we're being 100% honest and fair, Pokemon's story elements aren't really that great to begin with. I mean, you're kind of you get to build your own story. That's something that this game does better than the main series does. Something I would like to see from this game that gets implemented into the main series is the unions. So you have your Team Valor, you have your Team Instinct, and you have your Team Mystic, and you can work with your team solely, or you can work with an opposing team to take down an opposing gym. That is actually a feature I think works phenomenally in this game. Today, I conquered a gym with a Team Red, and then it came down to which of us could take this gym in the end. Um, we put in the work together, but at the end of the day, only one team is going to leave with that gym. Ultimately, it was me, again, because I'm so competitive that, you know, you can take the gym, but if I beat your Pokemon, it's my gym now. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened. They put their Pokemon there first, and then I challenged the gym after they left. It was like, it was nice to meet you. It was fun taking this gym down together. I'm taking this gym now, and that's exactly what I did.
One more thing I want to add about the gyms. I really, when you take over a gym, a little badge will appear on the Pokemon that you decided to leave in it. I really wish that when you clicked on that Pokemon, it would tell you what gym you left it at, because when you start taking over multiple gyms, it's hard, like, to remember when you get a Pokemon that comes back to you after it's been defeated, like, oh, where did I leave that Pokemon? I forget what gym I put it at. And I hope that they add that, because that's just a small change. I've been trying to nickname my Pokemon. Like, if I have more than one of the same kind, if I have doubles or triples, I'll try to nickname them so I can keep them separate, so I can remember, like, oh, I put, like, this Vaporeon at this gym, and then my Vaporeon, if I nickname it like Vicky, I put this one at another gym, so I can kind of keep track. But it would be easier if they add that to the game.
Almost definitely. And you do get a map of where you catch the Pokemon. So if you leave it at a gym, there should be another map right there. Something else I would like to come from the main. I want this to go to the main series. And I think we haven't talked about this yet. The augmented reality function is really good in this game. I have a very brand new phone. I have a Galaxy S7 with a great camera. I am taking phenomenal pictures. Like I said, this is kind of Pokemon Snap 2.0. I thought it was funny. The other day I went out looking for Pokemon, and in front of a puppy store, I found a Growlithe. And I'm not kidding, I took a picture of a Growlithe in front of a puppy store. It was literally in front of the puppy store. I had to take this picture. If I was actually playing Pokemon Snap, you would have got double bonus points for taking the picture at that location, because it was one of those moments. It was serendipity, pure serendipity, and it was fun. But that's the function I like. The 3DS has a bunch of cameras. Can we please implement some of that augmented reality? I mean, they've done it already. There is a Pokemon AR game on the 3DS. There are other little AR games on the 3DS. Let's open that camera up a little bit more. Let's use that camera to do stuff like this, because it's become one of my favorite things. Like, I take a lot of joke pictures,
Oh, yeah. Your pictures have been way better than mine so far. I haven't had any, serendipitous moments like that. But I agree with you. It would be nice to utilize the 3DS better. I didn't really think of that. That's actually a good idea. Another thing I would like to borrow from, I know we've already talked about it before, with the whole Pokken tournament thing, borrowing the way that you can dress your avatar.
Customization.
Customization. I don't need to customize my character that much, but I would like to change its clothing and its hair. Maybe its headgear a little bit. It doesn't need to be quite as in-depth as it is on Pokken Tournament, but it would be nice if they came out with an update that lets you pick a few more clothes, or maybe even earn them as a reward for, because if you look at your, when you click on your character and you scroll down and look at the badges that you've earned, maybe if you earn a badge, like a silver badge or a gold badge in something, maybe that could unlock an item for your avatar. It's just something to think about.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I would totally love to customize my avatar a little bit more. It just seems pretty barren, especially after a game like Pokemon Tournament, where you have an overabundance of character customization in that game. It almost seems like a misstep for them to hold it back in Pokemon Go. I understand that it might take up a lot of assets, and you.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say I don't think you can ever have an overabundance of customization. Not possible.
Yeah, man, but I definitely want my character to be more of a representation of myself. I think that's something all gamers want at the end of the day, is to really relate to their avatar a lot more, especially since this game takes great strides in making sure that you are physically part of the world. That's the point of the game, you become part of the Pokemon world for really the first time in 20 years. You're part of this world. You're not playing a video game. You're in a video game. You are part of the game. Is an extension of yourself. Why wouldn't you open up the customization just a little bit more? Let's just, fingers crossed that it comes in an update, because I really could get into that a lot more if I felt more of a connection with my avatar. That being said, though, I really like everything that comes with this game. I love the badges. I love the badges, which basically function as trophies. Like, the awesome functionality in this game. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah.
It does things better than the main series, and and vice versa. The main series does things better than this game does as well. But it's almost, in our first episode of the SplatZones, you said that this game would be like a branch on a tree, an extension of the main series. Now that this game is out, that statement, it's truer than I think you even meant it to be. Like, it really is a different branch on the Pokemon tree, and it's fun. It's just as fun. Like, I honestly just want to keep going out. I want to be, I want to be part of my world more. I have spent very little time at home since this game has come out, just because I'm seeing my world in a new way, and that's cool. That's so cool to me. You never would have thought that in 2016, your phone was actually the device that bridges the gap between you and other people. A video game that unites all of us in some weird common goal. Another feature I want implemented, it's one that we know is coming, but I really want to see raids. I want to know what these raid events are all about, man. And I'm excited to just do that. I hope they're team specific raids. I want, like, for some reason, Team Yellow, Team Instinct, that we all have to go out to, like, a very specific location in our cities and just bombard, like, a Team Red or a Team Blue gym. Or, it's funny because, I literally want to get on Twitter every day and put out an open call to all the Team Yellows who live in Tampa, and let's go raid gyms together and to conquer them. But it's still fun, man. I've gone to so many places. I went to Downtown Disney. That was an experience. Downtown Disney is already always crowded. It's always crowded. It was twice as crowded, and I have never seen so many Poke Lures in one area. Downtown Disney has over 100 Poke Stops, and every one of them had a lure. And, at first, I didn't even notice the other players because Downtown Disney is always crowded. But as I was at a Pokestop, collecting some balls and some potions and, using, the lures to my advantage to catch like 42 Magikarp that day, I looked around and I just saw hundreds of people next to me playing the game, talking. People that wouldn't talk. They wouldn't talk to each other. They weren't. Exactly. Because no matter what, there is a divide. There's a divide in any country, be it, race, religion, creed, whatever. There's always a divide. This game this game removes that. It removes the divides, and for a brief moment, you're just people playing together.
Pokemon Go is truly a defining moment in our generation, and I know that sounds like a really big statement to make, but it really is. And most of the people that I see playing this game are somewhere in between the ages of, I would say, 16 and 36. Because usually it's people in their 20s, people who are, old enough to remember what it was like when Red and Blue came out, or Gold and Silver, people who were part of Gen 1 or Gen 2. And, I really haven't seen a lot of little kids playing, because...
If I have, I've seen them playing with their parents.
Right, because there aren't that many 10-year-olds with smartphones. They just and I know that I've seen a few older people playing, although because I know some people's gamer tags have been Kyle 1968. So I'm like, okay, well I know there's some older people taking these gyms, but most of the people, majority of that 21 million and counting active user base are people that are our age. They're in their 20s, or maybe they're early to mid 30s. They're people that are in this generation, and you're right. Regardless of your background, it's bringing together a lot of people who wouldn't normally talk to each other, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's so weird. They put it. Ultimately, it was the goal. That was the goal when Niantic, had their meetings with the. It's always been the goal of Pokemon to bring people together. Niantic has said it on many occasions, is that the goal of this game was to bring people together in the same way that the main series brings people together. But it's actually gone further. It's because it's this real world play. It does it in a far more successful way, and it's so cool. It's so cool to see. And it's the one thing I just really can't get over. All these good things we've had to say about the game as far as the gameplay elements that are in this game that are implemented so well. The thing that is most intriguing to me is the social interactions, because gamers don't really socially interact with one another anymore, especially as we veer more towards online gaming, where you don't, when Mario After Party and I were growing up, if you wanted to play a game together, you had to be together. You had to be in the room. You had to be sitting side by side, on one television screen that was split, 4 ways. And, damn it if you had a small TV and you were trying to play Mario Kart.
One interesting thing about this game is that because it's probably the first mainstream augmented reality game, you're seeing the difference now between augmented reality and virtual reality, comparing them as being very similar to each other. But you look at augmented reality, and it is a very social experience. It's bringing people together, in the way Pokemon is, because you're interacting with the world around you. Virtual reality is the complete opposite of that. Virtual reality is a very individual experience. You're locked into a headset, and you are in your own world that you're not sharing with anybody else. So as these technologies begin to develop further, we're seeing that there is a big difference between virtual reality and augmented reality, just in the social aspect alone.
Yeah, that's 100% true. You're right. And it actually broadens the. I think Pokemon Go broadens the scope of augmented reality as well. Specifically Pokestops, because now, other augmented reality experiences were limited to a specific location, but now you're broadening the scope by making it multiple locations, and you're not just interacting with the environment, but you're interacting with people. So the scope of augmented reality has been exponentially increased. It's such a good thing for gaming right now. It really is. I can't think of a real negative here. I mean, I know there are negatives. Like, let's be honest. In the 7 days that this game has been out, we've already had stories of, the teenage girl who found the dead body, and the boys that were using poke lures to rob people at gunpoint. Yes, there can be negatives and drawbacks to this augmented reality, but I mean, those stories are kind of far and few.
But and that's what the media is going to focus on those stories because they're the most interesting to read. But most of people's interactions with this game have been positive, and I really hope that it continues to be positive. I hope that there's not a lot of backlash. I hope that Niantic does tweak, one or two of the Pokestops or gyms just so that irritated that there's droves of Poke collectors trying to, go in areas that might not be friendly with having the population of that area increase dramatically.
Well, they're already kind of working on that with the sponsored Pokestops, which is nice. Or companies who want to be Pokestops can pay Niantic, a fee, and then they get put on, the map for Pokestops. That's
right.
that's a really good idea, because things like that also increase the safety of that. Because if the Pokestops are in a more populated area, something's less likely to go down, especially if there are lots of witnesses.
Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that you can explore remote areas with this game. There is a gym that is along the river near where I live, but you can't see it by going over the bridge because it's just out of range. You actually have to drive down to the river and drive along the river for about a mile before you can get to this game. It's kind of in a remote area, but I like that. I like that there are some Pokestops and some gyms that are kind of out of the way, and I'm not trying to say that Niantic should take out those kind of Pokestops and gyms. I'm just talking about more, the ones that are irritating people. Who I know there was a story of someone who had a Pokestop that his house was a Pokestop because he had bought a property that was a church and turned it into a house, and things like that will be worked out eventually. But I really do like the exploration aspect of this game, so I just want to clarify that.
I agree. I have had a few Pokestops that are pretty questionable, like a few back alley Pokestops, because there were murals painted on them.
About the one at the factory.
Oh yeah, there's one at the Yingling factory here in Tampa, where I have been repeatedly told to leave because I keep taking over the gym, and been told, if you're not here for a tour of the facility, you cannot be on the premises. Great. Thankfully, they've been nice enough to let me take the gym. They're like, I'm like, can I please just take the gym and then I'll go? They're like, sure. I have the sneaking suspicion it's because it's their gym and they're just gonna take it back after I leave. But they're usually
tell about the fact that you saw it taken after hours, after it was already closed, which means someone had to break in there.
Yeah, that's also true. Somebody so I lost that gym at around 2:00 in the morning yesterday. Or, well, I guess this morning, 2 a.m. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just checked this gym and I had it, and now I don't. Somebody literally went into the facility and took my gym late at night, and I'm really hoping it was a security guard and not like some punk kid. But that being said, it's been fun. I mean, there haven't been too many bad locations for me. Just the one or two bad Pokestops. But that being said, go ahead.
So I will say this: the difference since I'm living in a rural area and you're living in a more urban area, it is more difficult to catch rare Pokemon in an urban area. You don't quite have the same system of Reddit pages that everyone's going to come out and say, hey, go to this location. And also, I have driven through neighborhoods, and I walked through a neighborhood for over an hour with incense and everything, and I would get maybe a Pokemon every 5 or 6 minutes that would spawn, and there just weren't any rare Pokemon there. There, weren't very many Pokemon in general, and I know that a lot of Pokemon will appear at locations like parks or near like big shopping centers, but because I live in a rural area, I'm driving through a lot of rural parts, and sometimes I just don't see very many Pokemon there, and it would be nice to have Pokemon added in those places that are a little more remote, just because it makes it a lot easier for me to find them if they do that.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so here's the big question. This is a question that has been kind of resting in my mind since about day 3. Does Pokemon Go diminish your want for Pokemon Sun and Moon? Like, does this take away from the main series in your mind in any way, shape, or form? Not as the main series is going to sell regardless, but is your excitement level for Pokemon Sun and Moon, has it diminished at all?
Okay, short answer, no. But long answer, I feel like it's hard to say when the game's only been out for a week, because right now the hysteria and everything surrounding this game is still going to be really high for the next couple weeks. But as we start to get into November and we get closer to the Pokemon Sun and Moon release date, I think we won't be quite as addicted to Pokemon Go. We're still going to be playing it, but our level of interest in Pokemon Go will start to die down a little bit.
That isn't until they release more Pokemon.
Well, yeah, but I think that Pokemon Go will have a long lifespan. I think it does have the potential for pretty good longevity, but we're not going to be as crazy about it. The longer it gets, the longer we've been playing the game. I know I'm still going to be playing this game pretty frequently, but as we get into November, I think I'm going to start to really anticipate Sun and Moon more. It's hard to answer that question now, because right now the only thing on my mind is Pokemon Go. I don't want to do anything else. I'm not interested in anything else. But I know that after a month of this game, it's going to be different. I'm not going to be as crazy and addicted to this game. At the moment, I'm really not thinking about Sun and Moon, but I know that when it starts to get closer to the release date, I'm going to be really anticipating it, just like I was before Pokemon Go came out. And even when they released these new Pokemon, the 2 Pokemon we talked about today were, it always builds my excitement when they give us those little bits of information. So as of right now, I'm going to say that as we get closer to the release date of Sun and Moon, we're still going to be just as interested in it.
All right. My answer is a little bit different. I actually think it does diminish my expectations for Pokemon Sun and Moon. It does. There are things that this game does so extraordinarily well. The get up and go aspect of the game, the being actually part of the Pokemon world. That's something that the main series can't really replicate, and it's probably the most interesting function of Pokemon Go. So knowing that function isn't going to be really there in Pokemon Sun and Moon, it does diminish it. It's not like it's tremendously diminished, but yeah, the way I feel about Pokemon Sun and Moon, the excitement level isn't quite as high as before. And I think it might apply to the rest of the world in the same kind of way. 3 new Pokemon came out. From the time they released this game, they unveiled 3 new Pokemon, and I feel like people aren't talking about it the way they were talking about, Pokemon Sun and Moon last month. Seriously, three new Pokemon, and the excitement level for them hasn't been as high. It hasn't, I check a lot of, Nintendo-based media, and almost every headline is Pokemon Sun and Moon. I actually had to dig for the information on the Pokemon to do this episode, so it just goes to show you, like they released this game, and it is the focus, and it's really hard for Pokemon Sun and Moon to get a word in edgewise.
That's true. And I've thought about, well, am I gonna be able to enjoy Sun and Moon the same way now that I'm playing Pokemon Go? I'm thinking, because catching Pokemon in real life is more fun than catching it in a game, right? But when I started to think about the pros and cons of each game, I was thinking, the area that you get to explore in Sun and Moon is going to be, you get to go to the dangerous volcano locations and sail in the ocean, and you get to do things in the game that you really can't do in real life. And traveling to very diverse regions is a lot faster in the game than it is in real life.
Yeah.
So even though I like catching Pokemon in real life better than I like catching them in the game, it is easier to catch them in the game than it is in real life. And the battling aspect is still going to be better in the game. So as much as I love Pokemon Go, and I think that Pokemon Go does quite a few things better than the main series does, there's still going to be things that the main series is always going to have over it. It's just, it's like there's just pros and cons for each game.
Very well said. All right, man. You know what time it is. It's time for these closing thoughts. I'm going to take the lead on this one. Pokemon Go is more than a game. It is a phenomenon, sort of like Pokemon is itself. This is literally like being transported back to 1998 here in the States. I remember what it was like when it first came out, and the excitement level is the same. Back then we were playing it on Game Boys. Now we're playing it on smartphones. But the thing that hasn't changed is that Pokemon is very much a socially interactive game. It's always been from the onset. This game goes to even greater lengths to bring that out, and I think it succeeds in ways that the original series didn't. It surpassed my expectations of what I thought it would be. I have not been let down by this game aside from server issues, and those have been mostly rectified. They've done a great job of, getting this game back on track. It's been a great game, and I look forward to the expansions that they're going to do to this game. I look forward to searching my region and going to other regions. Going to like Georgia, seeing what I find in Georgia. Maybe taking a trip to Louisiana and seeing what I see there. Just getting out and about. Like, that's what this game does so well. And I look forward to more social interactions with people. I want to talk to more trainers, and I think that's the thing that I'm taking away from this, is that I have interacted with people on a new level in ways that I never have before. And that's what I'm taking away from this game, is that I might not be making new friends off of this game, but I'm definitely making new acquaintances. So that's been definitely cool. What about you, bro?
I think that was really well said. I don't have too much more to add to it. I would say though that I really hope that they also kind of tweak the areas that you can find certain Pokemon in, because I know when you play the main series, if you are fishing or if you're out in the water, you're only going to catch water Pokemon. But here, when I go down to the river, I'm still catching Pidgeys and Rattatas, and it is kind of frustrating. So as much as Pokemon Go is a phenomenon, there does need to be some improvements made to the game. And I think when we revisit this a week or two, or maybe at the 1 month mark, we're definitely going to have a much more clear picture of where this game is headed and how long the phenomenon is going to last.
Very well put. All right, guys. Let's hit you up with these social media links, and then we're going to be out of here. And so, you can always hit us up on Twitter at Nice1983 and at Mario After Party. You can email us at thesplatzones@gmail.com. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/Nice1983 Collecting. Don't forget to check out the website, Nice1983.wix.com/Game Collecting. If you're a fan of the Splat Zones, you can always download new episodes on iTunes and Google Play Music. You can stream new episodes on Stitcher Radio. And if you like the video version, watch us here on YouTube. We try to give you every way possible to enjoy this show. And one last thing, guys. If you enjoy the music that we play in these shows, go ahead and check out GameChops.com or search GameChops on YouTube, and you can find all the fantastic video game remixes that they go ahead and create for us. That's it for this episode, guys. Mario After Party, what do you got to say?
Guys, be the best, like no one ever was. And as always, stay fresh!
Stay fresh. Deuces.